Hey everyone, this is the Clockwork Percussion Podcast, and I'm your host, Max Gomez. I want to do a solo episode today to talk a little bit about two things, metronomes and rudiments. And I think these are two really important parts to becoming a competent drummer, so much so that I just want to make a quick episode about it. I'm going to start with the metronome, and I think about it like similar to a Henry Rollins quote. He says, "The bar never lies." And Henry Rollins, the singer from Black Flag, is a weightlifter, I believe, and he knows about the Olympic barbell, which is 45 pounds. You add like 45-pound weights on either side of it. And what he means by that is the bar never lies. No matter how much your body changes and the amount that you're able to lift, the bar will always tell you the truth of how strong you really are. And when I first heard that, I just equated it immediately to the metronome because I was using both at the same time, actually. And meaning I used the metronome to practice and then used the barbell to train for weights. So I saw the similarity there and how cool that is, actually. Most clicks apps, like the metronome apps, I think they always start at 120, and I was having a drum lesson today, and I was thinking about why is that the case. And half of 120 is 60, and then 60 beats per minute is like the heartbeat in a way. So I thought that was really interesting, and I think that's a really good starting point for anyone that's trying to get into a click track. So just like the bar never lies, the click track never lies. And your meter will improve the more that you use a click. I know it's daunting at first. It can be scary. There's dread. You're all over the place. But if you start at a speed like 120 and slowly start playing rock and roll to it, you're going to improve. And eventually you're going to be able to creep up to 130 beats per minute, 140, 150, 60, 80, 200. That's if you want to, so like some of these metal guys that I'm more familiar with, some of these guys are pushing, even like 300 on extreme metal recordings. Personally, I think I'm practicing blast beats around like 200, maybe 210 at my max speed cleanly. And the click has gotten me there, keeping my fills on time, keeping each note in a beat on time. But I'll slow down and I'll scale it back to 120 again. Why I think that's an important speed to start with. When you're first trying out something new, like keeping on time to a click, you have to start somewhere. 120 is generally where a lot of pop music is too. I think it just has something to do with like the way our hearts beat and a rhythm that we're comfortable with, a meter that we're comfortable with. And it's just funny. It's kind of like this phenomenon. So I think starting with 120, being able to hold all the kind of beats that you normally do practicing without a click, but then transferring them over to practice with a click is really going to improve your playing, landing fills and getting back to one at the right time. Second thing I want to talk about, and it kind of goes hand in hand, are rudiments. And when I have a student on drums, the first thing that we do is we set a click, and then we start going on rudiments, singles, doubles, triplets, paradiddles, 4-stroke, 5-stroke, 6-stroke, 7-stroke rolls. And it's all to a click. And we usually start, if it needs to be slower than 120, starting at 100, creeping up to 120 eventually, and then breaking through thresholds by tens. So adding another 10 BPMs, 130, 10 to that, 140. And I think it'll be really beneficial for listeners that haven't implemented either a metronome nor using rudiments constantly in their practice. The other cool thing about rudiments, and I bring this up all the time, is you can do with what you do with your hands, you can do with your feet. And the Thomas Lang video that he did with Drumeo, I think it was like 5 or 6 years ago now, is unparalleled education, in my opinion. I've seen as many videos as an experienced drummer has seen on YouTube as anyone can see. And this one is still the one I hold in the highest regard because he puts it simply, and he states very clearly in the beginning, he's like, any rock drum kit, beat or pattern or anything that's ever been recorded or that you've ever heard, I bet you I can dissect it down to any of these rudiments. And so he goes over singles first, goes into doubles, triplets, paradiddles, so on and so forth. So this entire conversation that I'm having with you as a listener and with myself alone in this room is just to impress upon you the importance of those two things. Don't overlook them. They will improve your playing. If you want to get better, you have to do them. If you want to be taken seriously, you have to do them. And rudiments are to drummers what scales are to tonal musicians, that play guitar, bass, keyboard, vocalists, and all the other instruments. But since we're mainly talking about rock, I think rudiments are just, they're super important for drummers. And I wanted to record this episode because someone that I've been giving lessons to for the past 4 months, in just over 100 days, he's been able to go from a novice player that had an E-kit, and he's been able to triple his skill set on drums in in 4 months. What he was just kind of, he'd been playing on an E-kit for 3 years and he hadn't really improved. And you have to challenge yourself with the basics first, with the fundamentals. So playing to a click, your rudiments, and then probably a third would be like holding your sticks properly. That's more than I'm going to go into today. Might touch on that another time. Anyway, please consult the internet for rudiments. Vic Firth has a cool poster. There's a ton of them. I think there's like about 40 different rudiments, but your singles, your doubles, your paradiddles and triplets are probably going to be the most useful. And then playing to that click